Well, okay, so there's kind of a couple things going on. So I like to look near term for whatever I can grab in the near term, but I also like playing long term plays. And yes, the national price per gallon of gasoline has just dipped, I believe, down below $4. So it's coming down. And this is despite all the stuff still happening, the conflict still happening in the Ukraine. So this is great. Um, so that brings back kind of the long-term prospects of oil, doesn't it? And the writing seems to be on the wall. If you look at some of the major oil companies, and Occidental Petroleum is one of them, they're doing very little investment in their future. They're not investing in new refineries. They're not really pushing hard on drilling, even though they've opened up all this federal land here in the United States for more drilling. They're not really taking advantage of that. If you look closely, they're not pushing any of the pipelines that have been, talked about and have been put on hold. They're not really pushing to get them off hold, and it kind of and just based on what's happened in the last year and a half, and you look at the amount of dollars of investment and the amount of government regulations that have been moved or softened in order to get technological advances in alternative energy. And I'm not just talking about solar, and I'm not just talking about wind. I'm talking about hydrogen, geothermal, and there's been a huge push towards nuclear, right? And so I think the writing's on the wall, and I think that the petroleum companies know that. And one of the other things that's been interesting is uh, when a company gets some profits, which we know petroleum companies in the last 6 months have gotten quite a lot of profits, they have choices of what they can do. Well, they can, start building out their infrastructure and try to scale and make more of their product. They can hire more people, they can buy equipment. Or if they want to appease their investors, one of the easiest ways to make their company seem more valuable is to remove the dilution of the shares. So if they're a public company, they could do stock buybacks, right? If they buy back their stock, then the remaining stock that's out there for their investors all of a sudden becomes more valuable. If you take something that's worth $1 million and you divide it up 1,000 ways, well, then each little share, 1,000th of that company is worth $1,000. If the company buys back half of that, now the share is worth $2,000. So buybacks are a way that a company can appease investors. Well, with this fiscal legislation that's coming out, this was actually something I've been watching carefully. A lot of people gave Kristen Sinema a lot of heck for removing out of the bill one of these loopholes. But she actually emphasized putting one in, and that was to tax companies or give them a charge, if you will, for doing buybacks. So that's going to hit the petroleum companies right in the where, right? Because when they do their buybacks to appease their investors, they're going to be taxed on that pretty heavily. They can't just go out on the market and do that. There's going to be a charge. It's going to become expensive to do buybacks. It's kind of emphasizing that companies here in the States should put their money towards expanding their business and growing rather than just appeasing their investors. All to say, I'm quite excited about shorting over the long duration petroleum stocks. Occidental Petroleum is one of them. So now I've talked about the long-term picture, which is like 5 to 10 years. If I have in my portfolio a short position, which means I'm expecting this company to start to do poorly over the next years, and I'm going to make money on them actually going down in their stock price. That's what I mean by shorting them. That's my long-term goal for my long-term portfolio, is to short petroleum companies. And Occidental Petroleum, if we look back here, I'm going to go back. So you can see that they've sort of peaked. This is a 1-year chart. Now I'm going to go to a 2-year chart, and I'm going to start to keep going back further. Let's go to a 5-year chart. And you can see that Occidental Petroleum definitely has its ups and downs. It had some big ups back here in 2018, but it had that sell off as of about 2020. It had this little gain because people are, whatever the conflict, and people are traveling this summer. But I'm all about shorting this company. So what happens if I do short them, and it actually is giving us a signal right now. Let me put on my study that gives me my timing signals, which is the fast MACD. I'm looking for a crossing of the fast MACD, but I expect to get it either this evening or on Monday. That's going to be a signal for me to go ahead and short Occidental Petroleum. There's two ways to short it. I could either short the stock itself. I'll need a margin account to do that. Or if I don't have a margin account, or I even want to get a little bit of discount, I can use a little bit of leverage. I'll buy some put options. I'll buy some put options, and I'll go far out. I can always roll them out if I want, but I'll go far out, probably to 2024 with these put options. And so as the stock goes down over the next couple years, that my put options will appreciate. And then if there's any point where Occidental Petroleum stops going down in the stock price and starts to go up, I can sell put premium and buy some call protection and turn it into an income trade. So in the long term, I'm expecting it to go down and I'll profit on it going down. But every time it has a little bit of a gain, I'll just simply flip the equation, and options let me do that. So I want everybody to look out for an opportunity here where we see the max fast MACD cross down below, the fast MACD average number, and that's an opportunity to do some shorting on Occidental Petroleum, which I'll probably be doing. And then if there's any sort of um, pauses in that reduction in price, I'll be thinking about selling some premium and making some short term incomes. And that's my plan on Occidental Petroleum.